Friends, there are some things in nature that man just can't comprehend. Only the good Lord knows them secrets. And so much time has passed through these old mountains, and a lot of things are etched in the memory of these mountains forever. Now these old places, there's a lot of secrets, and a lot of history has passed by. Some stories are sad, some are good. But one thing about it, true love never dies. Now this story was told by my grandmother. I can remember her telling this story. This took place in northeast Tennessee, in the rugged mountains next to the Virginia line. Don't know what county or what town it was around. This is just a story that I was told. And this is about an old couple that'd been married for probably over 65 years in these mountains, and they had one child. And they lived a hard but simple life. And this is the struggles they had and the love they had for each other. They lived in a little country place, a few miles from a town, little country place like this, and they made a meager living. All they could do together to survive. They was candlestick makers. Yes, this was the time of the kerosene lamp and the coal lamps and stuff like that, but they made candles. This was around the mid-1800s. And he'd hurt himself, and it was as a younger man's what I was told. He couldn't do much physical labor. He was broke down. But he done what he could. In them days, there was no check, no disability. You made it to survive. And she done what she could. They made candles together, and she made clothing and material and sold it to town and neighbors and stuff like that to make their meager living. And they would melt down this wax and stuff with their candles, work all day long, all week, just for a few cents on a candle to sell to the town, little country stores and neighbors. And they made them stuff like this. They furnished to the churches, and the merchants would sell them for them. And once a week he'd head out to town, what clothing she'd made and what candles they'd made for the week, and trade with the merchant. But they made a good little living at this. They survived. And his wife, for some odd reason, when she was a young girl, was scared to death of the dark. Something bad happened to her. We don't know what it was. But every night, he would light a candle in the bedroom so she would not have to see the complete darkness. And as time went on, this was the time the Civil War broke out, and their only son, he got up to about 18 or 20 years old, I was told, and he went and had to join the Army of Tennessee to fight for his state. And she begged him not to go, but he had to. And like so many of our boys here in this country, they never come home. A lot of sad loss on both sides, the North and the South. Needless loss. And she waited for him day after day. And towards the end of the war, just before it ended, she got word that he died on a battlefield somewhere in Virginia. Don't know, but it just broke her heart. She never got to see him. He was buried in a mass grave. Well, as time went on, that was the end of her. She just broke down in grief and age, and unfortunately she died, and they buried her in a little country graveyard. Well, he was devastated. After 65 years plus of marriage, he didn't know what to do, and he missed her so bad. So he knowed she was scared of the dark. He would go there at night and light a candle and stand over her grave, just so she wouldn't be in the dark alone, night after night. Well, he lasted about a few years later, and he died. The neighbors found him, and they buried him right beside her in a little country graveyard. And were they finally together forever. But that's not the end of the story. They said not long after that, residents or people along the road would see a little light on the tombstone. A little candle lighting up. And sometimes on the darkest nights, they would see him standing over the tombstone, watching, standing with her. And anybody tried to approach him, he would just slowly fade away. And so would the light. Well, this slowly went on for a long, long time, until later they would still see this little light here. Just a little light on top of a tombstone. Still giving light over her since she was afraid of the dark. But as time went on, generation after generation, these little country graveyards are disappearing. Nature's taking them back over. And the roads, the little roads that went by them, as time goes on and progress moves on, these roads become highways, bypassing these little country roads, all up and down this country, even into big interstates. All the little back roads are forgotten about, lost in time. But who's to say that the light is still not on dark nights, shining on top of this tombstone? Who's to say? Time goes on. But one thing about it, love never dies. So I hope you enjoyed this little story. I want to say God bless, and I'll see you next time.